far. Great. Having a great year, great month. I know a lot of you guys are digging out. I got 2 feet of snow on the ground here in Pittsburgh, so we definitely feel for you. I know the people in Dallas and Houston aren't quite used to all that, so we feel for you guys. So we'll kick off the call here in just a second. Let everybody in. If anybody has any wins, we'd love to hear any wins from the agents in our group and agents in our network. Anything good going on for you guys? I'll open up for a couple minutes here before we bring our guest speaker on. Wow, lots of shy ARIA real
Let's talk
estate
about the Ohio
agents.
State victory then.
There we go. Okay. Yeah. Unless you're a Notre Dame fan.
Sorry,
But,
Christian.
Or
it was
a
a good-
Notre Dame parent. So Barry, I didn't even like your post on Facebook, so you'll have to deal with it.
Well, it started out as a good game, but unfortunately, things do go that way. But yeah, we'll just leave it at that. So, any other wins? Not to hurt anybody's feelings either. Any other wins for the month? I know I see a couple agents on here. I just congratulated on some closings recently. I think Art's on here. Art's was named number 7 real estate agent in Illinois for our brokerage. Fantastic job there, Art. Any other wins before we bring on our guest and Darren and Barry? All right. I won't be like Larry and make you guys pony up, but my name's Eric Bengal.
You sit there in awkward silence long enough and somebody will speak up and like the silence is deafening.
I hear you. Well, I was 2 minutes late on the call, so I don't want to hold people up too long. But hopefully, you guys are winning. That's the main thing. We're busy at American Destiny. We're busy at our brokerage. We're busy doing have a lot of different moving parts right now. Oh, Sergio, you have a tassel cap on, aren't you in Texas, man? It must be cold. But anyhow, it's been a great first few weeks of the month. Hope everybody had a good holidays. My name is Eric Bengal. I'm Communications Director with American Destiny Real Estate. I've been with the company for probably going on 8-9 years now. Darren and I have known each other for a really long time with our daughters playing competitive soccer. We have our host on the call today, Darren Cottrill, CEO of American Destiny Real Estate, Barry Owen, CEO of End-to-End Solutions, and our guest speaker today will be Christian Etienne, who a lot of you on this call probably know Etienne or Christian or spoken with him at one time or another. So what I want to do first is just turn it over to Darren and let Darren sort of give his prequel to the call and anything he wants to talk about, and then I'll do the same thing with Barry. So Darren, anything you want to talk about or where things are moving on your end at American Destiny?
Thanks, Eric. Appreciate it. And appreciate everybody taking the time, jumping on and joining us today. We have a lot of things cooking right now. I mean, honestly, the seasonality that we are going through right now, definitely a slower time of the year, but it's been inverse for us with the activity we're seeing in a lot of different marketplaces. Our under contract volume is actually increased over the last three weeks, which is a nice surprise, honestly. But we also have some additional things cooking right now that we're excited about for 2025. I think there's a couple of things, and Christian might touch on this a little bit. I mean, in the marketplace and what's going on. So I don't want to still always thunder, but I know on the commercial front, there's some things going on. But on a global scale, just the change of the with the election and the new administration coming in, I think we're going to see some changes on the REO front maybe this year. So it seems like everything's right now hyper focused and hyper speed. So we'll see how that turns out to be. If it's beneficial for us, because again, that whole space has been really dormant for us for a long time. So we'll see how that's going to come together. But with that, Eric, I'll pivot over to Barry, and hopefully he won't bring up the Ohio State Buckeyes and just deal with what everybody else really cares about.
You missed the intro then. Hey, everybody.
I heard it.
Yeah, glad to see everybody. Like Darren had mentioned, we went through pretty slow period, November, December. A lot of people doing the moratoriums, holding back on the evictions, holding back on a lot of different work, throw in all the people on vacation and everything. So come out of our slow time, and then we get back into January and we're cooking again. So we're getting, we're seeing a big increase in evictions, especially in a couple of our portfolios. That's going to mean some good stuff for the people on this call, because that means once we get those vacated, those do become our listings. So I think we have one client right now that sent, they sent us about 40 so far this month. We've got about another 35 or so coming. And like I said, those end up being listings for everybody on this call. So it's, finally starting to get some momentum back, after that dead zone over the holidays. But glad to see everybody. I don't really have a whole lot to comment on. The REO is pretty much same environment we've been in, but we are starting to see a little bit more work come out of our SFR and unique clients. So that's all good for all of us.
Yeah, thanks for bringing us up to speed there with that, Barry. Before I turn things over to Christian, and what I'll probably do is just ask Darren and Barry to ask questions to Christian, because I'm not really sure where we want to go with that. But I just want to update everybody on a couple of things that are coming up. One is the NADP conference in early March. The other one is a Velocity conference in February. So I threw in the chat. I'm going to be at Velocity. So if anybody wants to have a meeting with me, I know Darren's going to be there, and I'm not sure about Barry, but we'll have a contingent that's going to be at that event. It's always good to have some FaceTime. So if you want to meet with us, put your name, just fill out that form, and I'll be reaching out to people. NADP.
Oh, hey, Eric.
Good.
Real quick. That spurred the golf tournament that we've been talking about. April 7th and April 8th, which is going to be right before the NRBA out here in Vegas. We're going to put together a little golf outing. We have about 30 people, give or take, that are registered. We're lining up the courses now, trying to get our deals negotiated with them and everything. But just throwing that out there to anybody that might have missed it. We'll do them at a couple different courses, probably more than likely a couple different places in Vegas here. But if you want to put that on your calendar, if you haven't already.
Barry, what's the dates?
April 7th and 8th.
Sweet.
That'll be in the newsletter, and I just put the link for. It's another Google form. Just fill that out if you have interest in going. That way, we can keep everybody in touch. The Google form didn't reflect the dates, but hopefully I'll change that before you fill out the form. But if not, it's April 7th and 8th.
Week on that list.
We're in Vegas, Paiute.
Paiute. Okay.
Yeah, we're trying to get on Paiute as one of the courses we're trying to get on. Yep.
Sweet. Okay.
So, okay, well, Darren, I'm gonna turn it over to you guys and with Christian. You guys can take it from there, maybe an intro, and go from there.
Sweet. Well, I mean, honestly, I think Christian's been a good friend of ours for a long time, and Christian, why don't we just let you kind of just give us your synopsis of where you are, where you see the marketplace, what you see. These guys are all some of our favorite people on this call that do a lot of work for us. And we can't do what we do without what they do, when they do what they do for us. So, but we'll just take a second and just kind of unwind and let us know what your thoughts are on what's going on in the marketplace.
Sure, I'll give a quick bio too, and I recognize about a third, if not half of the names on here. I probably know you personally. That being said, I started out in the industry 30 years ago on the title side. I was a title guy for 15 years, and then in 2010, Fannie Mae had outsourced all of their reverse mortgage REO to Reverse Mortgage Solutions, and I joined them, and we had a real good run. Those first few years that Fannie Mae had that contract out there, they brought it back in-house in 2015, but that company's now PHH, Onity, it's REO Management Solutions. Many of you know them. PHH came and bought us September of 21, and I stayed about another year and then flipped over to CLink. Spent the last 2 years at CLink, who outsourced their REO through Altisource, Single Source, and LRES, now Scribe. I've since parted ways with CLink as of a couple of months ago. I'm doing some consulting on a number of fronts. I'm working with an asset management company out on the East Coast. They've got some inventory. They're getting more. and I'll touch on that a little bit, working with a couple of title fronts and a tech company and a couple of law firms, just helping them with process optimization. So I'm somewhat of a jack of all trades now, but I've got almost an equilibrium of 15 years on the title side as an owner, as a senior manager on a variety of fronts, and then on the REO side, these last 15 years. That being said, on the asset management side, I am starting to see an uptick. I'm also actually seeing an uptick in potential commercial, and it's not the skyscrapers, it's two fronts. Think retail, where they're closing some of their locations. That's what I sense is coming, and we're supposed to get some assets through the asset management company this month, so we've got 8 days to go there. And then the other type of commercial are these jumbo loans that these investors took out. Maybe they borrowed $2 million at a higher rates, and now those loans have gone into default, and there's 4, 5 to 6 residential properties under that. But the mortgage encumbers multiple properties, so they're somewhat classified as commercial because of the note type, but individually it's residential under that. So I'm seeing an uptick there as well. One of the things I briefly mentioned to Darren as we were joining is you guys that are in the asset management or a realtor space, you see who the end clients are. I would stress to you, because there is a diminished inventory of active assets now, reach out to those clients and see how you can help them work upstream on their defaulted mortgages, because those borrowers have equity in their homes and they have to maybe get through probate. Maybe they just need to sell the house, pay off the debts, and that there's still money on the table to be had, real estate transaction to be had before those properties are lost to either deed in lieu or foreclosure. And I think that's probably your biggest opportunity, because there is a backlog of potential foreclosures that are looming. Now, there's been a hiccup. We're going to have some administrative changes here this quarter with the different alphabet entities in Washington, D.C. But I would say by Q2, things should start flowing again, barring any wildfires, hurricanes, and all the craziness that we've had in the last 10 months.
Yeah, that's a great intro, Christian. Barry, Darren, any thoughts on that intro, or what Christian had said, or anything that you guys want to piggyback on?
I like the second quarter. I like the mojo you're throwing out there. I mean, I think we've seen the commercial. We've talked about this Barry and I in the last 6 months, maybe, Barry? We've been talking about the commercial side and what's been going on. And it seems like the writing was on the wall with that. We're just kind of waiting for the house of cards to start tumbling. So we're seeing where that's going. The global REO business right now is extremely light. And to your point on the group in the East, I mean, it's the same thing, REO. If it wasn't for SFR, build to rent, and some other stuff that we're working on right now on the purchase leaseback stuff, it'd be extremely lean. So we're kind of looking forward to that coming back, because that's always been a foundation for everybody on this call. So that just kind of gets us back to square one, and then the SFR space being so prevalent right now. And we've really got some traction in that space right now. So I think we're not going to go away from that, which is just going to help everybody across the board.
Yeah, I'll throw in there that we are definitely seeing a lot of financial interest, even though the defaults aren't here yet. Through several of my contacts, we're seeing a lot of foreign money, like the Kuwaiti Sovereign Fund. A lot of people putting cash on the table, getting ready. It seems that they're, I don't know that they know anything that we don't, but they're lining up capital to be able to buy the defaulted notes and mortgages. So it seems like the air is changing a little bit. That being said, it goes back to Christian and what Darren said, maybe second quarter, but there's at least some signs of life, and when you see the money start moving, that's a pretty good sign that there's some anticipation that we're going to see some changes in the market.
Yeah. So Barry, on that note, I'm in Houston for those of you that need to know, but I was in Dallas yesterday afternoon, last evening. Met with an underwriter in Dallas yesterday, and what they're seeing, to your point, Barry, is some of the ethnic groups, and he specifically mentioned Indians, folks from India that have family trust money and it's deep cash, and they're looking for investments as, you know, the American melting pot gets a little bit more diverse. You know, and these are folks that don't need a mortgage to acquire some of these properties, but they're looking heavily to invest to, you know, help their families and their businesses.
Yeah, those are definitely some interesting insights for sure. Don't normally
me
talk
throw
about
out-
that.
Yeah, I mean, we can expand on that. I mean, the first thing everything starts small, right? And then it's not. It's just kind of tumbles. We're gonna start seeing valuations. I think if we start seeing a pickup in valuations, that's when everybody's trying to. That's the first I think trigger that everybody's. So if all of you guys on the call, you start seeing BPOs coming over. You know, that's going to be the first indication that these guys are pulling together their tapes, they're pulling together information, they're looking to Barry's point. The capital guys are raising money. It's great. Barry's got a lot of ends on the capital side, so I would believe everything he's saying about if they're out there capital starting to flow. You know, the money guys know what's going on. For some reason, they seem to be able to predict this stuff a lot faster than we do. It's a great indicator of what's coming, and that's all good news for all of us because it's been on such a holding pattern for so long. The capital guys at this point have just been hanging out, honestly, and we know a lot of them. So they've just been waiting with dry powder, waiting to get some opportunities to do this. So that's good news, Barry, on that front. And then again, I think the first thing we were going to see, which we've seen a little bit of a pickup on the valuation side, but we haven't seen anything crazy. I think that's the first thing we're going to start seeing.
Yeah, and it'll be interesting once it does start flowing. There, as everybody knows, and this market's very different. It's going to be very different this time around. There's no more chasing Citibank or Chase, right, to try to get the assets. It's going to be these hedge fund guys that, they're shell points. I mean, it's going to be a different market this time around. As far as where's the market, the volume's going to come from, and even in that space. If you've got contacts in there, it might be a good time to reach out. Just say hi at this point. Get your name in front of them because I think there's definitely some shakeup. I don't want to get into names at this point, but a lot of people have shut down one entity and started up another or joined with other partners this time around. So it's definitely going to be a little bit of a different space, but like I said, I'm pretty enthusiastic just based on what I'm seeing and hearing. As far as there are definitely going to be some opportunities coming down the road here. A lot of that, to Christian's earlier comment, a lot of it's going to be how much does the government get involved? And with this administration, I'm guessing it's not going to be nearly as much. I mean, they were handing out modifications like water. You didn't even have to apply. They were sending, you had institutions sending out solicitations for mods. Those people are going to get back in trouble. And like I said, I think there's some sense of that out there right now that this is going to start culminating. I mean, the report just came out about the credit cards, and the defaults aren't horrendous by any means, but the number of people making minimum payments on a credit card has reached a record number. That's not a good sign. A lot of those people are homeowners, and you see the default rates. One of my friends over in the auto industry, I mean, their default rates in the subprime, and even in it's trickling into the prime, but the subprime is really bad. And they still have subprime in the in the auto space, but I think there's a lot of signs that are indicating that we're going to be in for some rough waters in the housing market as well.
I think that's the longer road, Barry, and I'm waiting on some slides on a Zoom type call I was on last Friday. They'll wrap up the summary, but to your point, the auto debt, the credit card debt are at all-time high. You've got property taxes increasing, you've got hazard insurance premiums increasing, and I think that's going to be a tipping point. It may be a longer game where folks say, hey, I've got a 22% interest rate on my credit card and I've got a $30,000 balance. Now I need to go do a home equity or a refi at 7%. And then that eventually snowballs into something else in a future cadence.
Yeah, absolutely. It's definitely a snowball effect. Eric, you're on mute.
Thanks. There was some background noise. As far as the agents on the call, is there any recommendations? I mean, I'd say 99% of the people on this call right now are boots on the ground, working with investors, working with other asset management big companies besides American Destiny and End-to-End Solutions, or working with traditional sellers. Is there any recommendations you would make, Christian or Darren Barry, as far as what they can do to get their ducks in a row? Because this is, I mean, this is like the calm before the storm. I think we're going to see a lot of moving parts over the next year, and I give everybody on this call a lot of credit for making these calls, and most of the people on this call are regulars, but they want to keep their business thriving. And what would you say are some of the top three recommendations we would make for the agents on the call?
Yeah, I
I'll
think
jump in.
Darren and I both touched on it. It was about working upstream, at this point right now, because you have to wait for the REO to land and not get sold third party. And then you hope you get the assignment in if you're in a dense enough market, right? But beyond that, there are loans that have been called due and payable, but they may still be 6, 10 months out from the foreclosure cycle. And I think that's an opportunity to work with your clients' clients and make those introductions and to see how you could help those borrowers get out of the situation that they're in. They're going to lose the house, but at least if there's equity in the home, they pay off the mortgage debt, they have their closing costs and whatnot, and you get your commission, but they'll still have some money in their pockets. And this is a total unicorn, but I had a recent asset. It was Napa, and that was the only thing good about the property was the location. It had a $333,000 UPB, but if you trust Zillow, Zillow said the house was worth 1.2. So that's kind of a no-brainer. Sell the damn house. It's going to cost you 400,000 to get out from under it, but the family would still have $600,000 or so, as opposed to losing it through deed in lieu or foreclosure.
Yeah, we talk about that a lot with our group. I know Jeff Russell's on this call. Jeff talks about this all the time with the agents in our group during his mastermind calls. Darren Barry, any other recommendations? I'm gonna open up then I'll just open up for questions with
gonna
people
throw
on
out,
this
'cause
call.
I just had a conversation with an agent just the other day, and they thought they were all. I'd go back to the basics, I guess. I mean, right now you just want to make sure you're teed up to be able to run with this as soon as opportunities start flowing. And every year you have to update your license, you have to update your insurance, you have to update your platforms. And honestly, those basic steps need to be taken care of, because you will not show on searches when we go to place stuff once it starts hitting if you don't have that all taken care of. So just make sure all that's set up. Again, the conversation I had the other day was with an agent saying, yeah, I'm good. And then I checked internally and they were not good. So, which means they just would not have come up on any search. And then, and this is how it is. We're all busy. So next thing you know, we're running in circles trying to get, we get a drop of whatever properties or whatever task it would be. And the team is going to go in the system and are going to pull whoever comes up. If you don't come up, then you're gonna miss out. So just want to make sure you take care of the basics when it comes to the platforms.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
I can help you guys out with that. If you're not sure, reach out to me via email, put time on my calendar. We can review your bid on homes profile. That does come up a lot. And if you're not active, your license isn't up to date in the system, if your E&O isn't up to date, you might still get the asset, but you might not. So it's just don't take any chances. And that's bid on homes. You also have Equator, not for us, but other companies are using Equator, Pyramid, Acceleris, Res.net, or ResNet. So all these need to be updated. This is a good time of the year. It should just be on your January 1 to-do list. Update all your stuff and make sure everything's current and up to date. Sorry to cut you off there, Barry.
Oh no, that's okay. You actually went down the path I was going, with the other platforms. I mean, just I don't think there's any emergency to rush out there if you're not signed up active with any one of them currently. This isn't something that's an emergency, but if you're a regular on them, yeah, make sure your stuff's up to date and at least be ready to get signed back up with them, because it is going to be interesting to see how this stuff plays out. Especially with these hedge funds that are going to get this volume. a lot of these guys do not have, their volume's been so light that they haven't been really worried about a platform per se. You know, it's been a lot of emails. And I think you know, when these NPLs come out and they start buying REO pools, it'll be interesting to see how they filter through. But and you know, quite honestly, who's even left at that point? I mean, you've got, you know, very limited volume out there for these players. I mean, I don't know what the numbers are, but you know, most of you know, I spent 8 years at ResNet, right? And we had massive volume during probably 5 of those years, and then it just absolutely fell off the face of the earth. And I don't, you know, we're obviously not going to see that type of volume again, but it will be interesting to see what platforms come out of this, you know, in the best situation once the volume does start coming up. But just be aware, make sure you have your registrations ready.
Yeah, some some people on this call like to say, get the band back together, you know, make sure everything's ready, all your instruments are tuned up and ready to rock and roll. So this is the time of the call that everybody looks forward to, is the question and answer. So I hope you guys have some questions for Darren, Barry, Christian. This is the time to ask those questions. I just prefer if you guys open your, take yourself off mute and ask questions directly. If you're really that shy and want to put in the chat, that's fine too. But you wouldn't be in this profession if you were shy. So, any questions we have for the people on the panel today?
I have a question for Christian.
Yes, ma'am.
I did a lot of work with C-Link and a lot of HECMs. What are you seeing in that area now?
Well, I will tell you this. I parted ways with C-Link in October, so it's been 3 months since I've seen data. I could tell you that volume of existing REO went down almost by half over a 24-month period from where it was January of 23 to October of 24. And there was reasons for that. Some of there were servicing transfers. I've got clients, particularly one large reverse mortgage lender who just started keeping the master servicing of their notes a couple summers ago, that is very borrower protective. They have to call the note due and payable under HUD guidelines, but they can drag their feet to allow the family to get through probate, because these are reverse mortgages specifically. And the Napa Valley case was one of their loans that there's equity in the house. So they want to do what's in the best interest of the family while they have to meet certain HUD guidelines. I had Barry, I'm going to change subjects for a second. I had a thought that an old memory. One of my college buddies is in the energy sector of lending, and he was president of Whitney Bank here in Houston a couple years ago. And Whitney's in the retail side. So I took him to lunch, and we've been friends for 30 years. And I said, what are you doing with your, certainly have mortgages that default and go to foreclosure? He's like, in Texas, it was only a handful a month. They were letting the law firms handle everything that we do in REO, get the appraisal, hire a realtor, do the title. And the thought occurred to me as Barry was speaking earlier, it wouldn't hurt to go rattle some cages in your neighborhood. Go talk to your community banks. Go talk to the credit unions that are in your area. They may only have one or two, but if you can make that local presentation to them, it's one, it's your market, and two, these aren't the big boys like the Chases in the cities that Darren rattled off earlier that may have an immediate need and want to work holistically within their own communities.
Yeah, Christian, I think that's a great point, because I think as a group just got so ingrained that there were going to be all these aggregators, right? Because there was such massive volume. You had to go on ResNet, you had to go on Equator, you had to put it with an asset management company. So you saw like Atlas REO and US Res and Single Source, all these companies just became massive. And I don't necessarily believe this time around you're not necessarily going to have that same outcome, right? It is going to be a lot more of the people that are just, I've got 5. I don't have 500, right? And it's going to be a smaller ball game, I think, this time around. And people might not be as quick to go to the aggregators, which in an aggregator, I'll call somebody like ResNet or Equator or one of the bigger asset management companies.
Any other questions from the group here? Certainly looking forward to see if there's anything else that you guys are thinking about. Spark any other conversation? This is that uncomfortable silence part.
Hey, Eric, we've got that, just a reminder for the golf outing, we've got that, I think it's a Google Sheet
Yeah,
that's floating around out there. Did you put that in the link for everybody?
I did put it in the chat a little bit earlier. Here, I'll do it again. So it's at the
Okay.
bottom of the chats. But yeah, certainly like to see as many people come as possible. It should be pretty good. Anybody seeing anything unusual on the markets? I talked to a lot of you guys. I mean, I know your markets pretty well, but can you guys give us any indication what you're seeing boots on the ground wise?
Hey, Eric, I had a question.
Hey, Alan.
When you guys are
go for it.
when you guys are referring to hedge funds with air quotes, where's a good source to find hedge funds to contact about some of these assets?
Who's going to answer that one?
There's
Very
probably
question.
not, yeah, there's probably not like just a clearinghouse for that, right? I mean, again, this is one of the kind of the anomalies that I just mentioned. They're going to be a little bit spread out, right? You have, groups like Foundation and First Lien, Get Set, that used to be the old Condor. I mean, those are some of the bigger names that are out there, but there's a lot of names that have popped up that are newer over the last couple of years. People don't even know directly. But so it's some of the older players, some of them, like I said, new names or new partnerships. But unfortunately, I don't know that there's like a checklist. Like you can go through, back in the day, 2009, you could go through and see Citi, Chase, and just see everybody's rankings and what everybody had. This market's going to be a little bit different. It's going to be much more spread out.
I'd say too, a lot of the companies, to your point earlier, are they're currently filing their paperwork to become a new entity, to take advantage of what they're doing on the capital raises. And so a lot of these groups that are going to be prevalent, we don't even know who they are yet. They haven't probably picked a name yet. They're just still forming together. You can definitely look at some of the conferences that we go to, the capital, what the old Pitbull, what's that, MPL, or and whatever the heck the acronyms are, right? So all those different groups have lots of folks that go all the time. You could start there. I mean, that'd give you a little bit of a hit list on some of the players, the IMNs, for instance, things like that. Those are the conferences that we go to that you might be able to pull some names and be able to do some searches and find out some contacts and information on that.
Yeah, and it's not going to be so much the 5-star conference for that anymore, right? It's going to be stuff like SFIG, which is structured finance something, but
Yeah.
it's going to be out in Vegas here. I know that a lot of the hedge funds are coming to that because we're setting up dinners with them. So, and other events. So if that's not on your calendar, and as I say that out loud, I was trying to think of what the dates were. But SFIG, SFIG, it used to be called like ABS West, I think. Let's see. Can't even find it. Oh,
I can't
yeah,
find it
it
either.
looks at February 23rd to the 26th. I have it on my calendar.
Another resource there is, and this depends on your state, but working with the right title company that can pull data for owners that own more than 10 units, right? Because the hard part is the LLCs are going to have 100 different LLCs with properties under each, but you can start to find different themes and stuff like that and start targeting backwards once you find out who owns more than 25 properties or something like that, and then start doing some research that way as well.
That SFIG conference, thanks, Larry. That SFIG conference overlaps with the Velocity 5-star, which we're gonna be in Fort Worth. You know, shocker that they did that.
I see that. Yeah, somebody put the link in the chat, so I appreciate that.
Oh, great.
But yeah, I think velocity will be good because we'll have gotten more information from some of these other companies, know a little bit more what's happening. We'll have a full 6 weeks into the year. We'll be able to have some conversation with agents there. We're trying to bring some of the asset management companies that some of the other ones that we're partnered with through the REO Alliance. They're going to hopefully be at this conference as well. So again, it's just gathering information, making your contacts, keeping your contacts, close at hand, and making sure that you're constantly reaching out, consistently, maybe not constantly, but consistently reaching out to them on a regular basis. See, Daryl, you have your hand up. Do you have a question?
Yeah, so actually, I just have a statement. I just wanted to know if it's kind of like that around the rest of the country here. I'm in New Jersey, northern New Jersey. I'm starting to see a lot of homes that are they're in foreclosure or actually being in process right now that have a lot of equity that's untapped because the homeowners, once they got behind and they were not able to refinance because the interest rate is so high. And a lot of investors are coming in with these rescue packages that are kind of buying them out. Is that going to be something you see down the line as going to be just going to take away from the REO business?
Who wants to tackle that one?
Well, I think it is a little bit different. I mean, that's part of the problem with the REO market in general right now, right? Is you have so many investors that are coming in and buying these things before it's even making it to market. So again, that's one of the anomalies that we talked about, how this market's going to be different than the last time. It is a lot more, there's going to be a lot more investors coming into this market, keeping those properties, putting in, turning them into rentals. Obviously they have to fit that footprint for those single family rental companies, but it is going to be a little bit different this time around.
Honestly, I think that first of all, it's a very valid question because with the equity and the run up we've seen on the, 20% plus in some marketplaces per year over the last 3, 4, 5 years, a lot of properties do have that increased equity. It gives them options. A lot of these investors now are looking at investing just in the equity and going in and giving them a lump sum of money just to have that's that purchase lease back process as well. But there's also, just investing in the equity itself of the property and becoming a part owner. That's gonna run its course. It's a newer kind of product, at least to me. We're gonna see where it goes. Bottom line is they're either gonna keep it and convert it into a rental, to Barry's point, or it's gonna become an REO and they're gonna want to get rid of it at some point. Payments still need to be made, and they still have to get their costs back. So we'll just have to see the life cycle of it. I don't know yet. We haven't been able to put our finger on it at this point, but it's definitely something we're going to see more of because of just the situation over the last 5 years.
Yeah, I think it's a good point, which we talk about a lot during other calls. This is not what we saw years ago, and it's not going to look anything similar to. It's different. It's going to be different. It is different. Agents on this call, we have to think outside the box. We can't just rely on the asset manager companies calling us. We have to, do some homework and do some creative prospecting, so to speak. Daryl, do you have any other questions, or I was going to move on to Jeff? Jeff has his hand up.
No, I'm good. I mean, that was, I would just kind of figure out how we conquer that because that's like, that's a big hindrance if a lot of investors are coming in and purchasing stuff, before they go into the REO market and put it back on the market as retail. And the prices just keep going up and up because the banks are they're going to piecemeal out every REO property as well because they know better to drop everything at once because that's what created the backdraft of other properties that came onto the market.
Right.
Okay.
Okay. Well, Jeff, I saw your hand was up. Jeff Russell.
Yeah, hi. And this is a message. Question for Christian. Christian, you're talking about, I do a lot of fishing upstream is what I call it. So I watch Property Radar and I reach out to homeowners and I try and help them before that actual foreclosure sale happens. I thought I heard you say something about, working with local banks, but are there any, nationals that you know of that would work with agents to try and prevent that foreclosure from happening, door knock and try and, potentially get them out of that situation they've gotten themselves into?
I really don't. What I've heard and seen has been at they call it borrower care, right? It's inside the default servicing oversight space inside some of these bigger shops that if they're able to work with the families, they're making an effort while also adhering to, again, this was reverse mortgages, adhering to the HUD guidelines. You got to call the note due and payable once you find out the borrower's passed away. It's no longer their primary homestead because they moved into a convalescent home or in with family or a tax and insurance default. And, we talked about the recidivism rate of, they may be able to get caught up, but then next quarter or next year, they're back in the same boat and it's just a perpetual problem. But Jeff, I don't have a silver bullet answer for your question.
That's fine. I mean, it's working out okay just doing it on my own. I've gotten several listings and helped and actually helped some people stay in their homes at times. So, and then the other question was the golf event. I think that was you that mentioned that with Vegas.
Yeah, that was me, Jeff.
Oh, it was you, Barry. Then is that something? Because I went ahead and filled it out. Is that something anybody can go to, or do you have to be a part of another conference or NRBA?
No. It's not tied to the part of the reason we did it because we were looking at the last week of March. And then we realized, well, the NRBA is the next week. So if we can, there's going to be people in town. So if they can extend it out, you don't have to play both days. It come in a day early or whatever and play on the 8th, whatever you want to do. But just thought it'd be something nice to do. And no, it can be anybody, any of our agents, vendors. I mean, it's pretty much an open invite. The more, the merrier. I do have I've got commitments from like Jim Steffen over at Peak Harbor.
Oh, nice.
Said he's going to come down for it. And, I've got a couple other friends in the asset management side that I'm going to throw out an invite to and see if they're going to be in town or want to come into town for it.
Well, I got a new set of pings, so I'd like to try them out.
Nice.
Awesome. Yeah, Christian, one question I wanted to ask. I
Sure.
did notice that the reverse mortgages at CLink had decreased. And you had mentioned it too. Was there any particular reason why, or any philosophy
So
behind?
okay, I was at both shops, and I'm going to use the analogy. It's like Ford and Chevy, right? Similar products, but just different designs. So, in my experience, much of what I still call it RMS, but much of what PHH Reverse has in their client book, those are much older loans with a higher default rates. So that's why you're seeing more REO at the PHH side because those notes are 10, 15 years old in some cases. And now those borrowers have passed or they've moved in with family or T&I issues. Look at C-Link's clients. Those guys are still originating. Those are fresher loans that haven't defaulted yet. C-Link's got a much larger book of subservice loans, but their clients are the ones that are on late night TV with Tom Selleck and Henry Winkler and those guys slinging reverse mortgages. So their servicing book's great. Their REO book, there's just not that much because they're just cleaner loans.
I was just curious because I know back in like 18, 19, 20, we were seeing a ton of those, and then just they seem to dry up. So.
Yeah, well, there's been a little bit of jockeying. I made reference to servicing transfers, MAM, Waterfall, Mortgage Asset Management, bought a couple of those loans. You had Reverse Mortgage Funding, who was the largest reverse mortgage originator and master servicer, and that was 2.5 years ago. But right around Thanksgiving, they filed bankruptcy. Ginnie Mae stepped in, securitized a loan. Carrington, Longbridge, Finance of America, all signed MSAs, and then C-Link was able to keep the subservicing, but it created shockwaves throughout the whole industry when it'd be like Ford filing bankruptcy, just like, Chevy needed a bailout years ago.
Right. Well, we're at quarter till. 2. So any last questions from anybody on our group? And then I'll leave it up to these guys for any last comments. But any last questions? I appreciate everybody for coming on the call today. I know this is a busy prospecting and sales day, but if no other questions, I'll just leave it up to Christian, Darren, and Barry to any final thoughts.
Christian,
The
you
only
go
thing I'd
first.
add, I was just gonna add to what Barry mentioned earlier, and Darren too. Even if you don't plan on going at the conferences, look at any nuggets of information that you can get off of those conference websites, like an IMN. See, you may find a hedge fund or 5 listed that are either a bronze sponsor or that they're named on the webpage, and at least gives you a nugget of information as opposed to just shooting in the dark.
Yeah, thanks for that. That is valuable. Darren, Barry, any final thoughts?
I'm good, Eric. Appreciate everybody
Okay.
coming on board again.
Yeah, honestly, I just want to thank everybody else. I see so many familiar faces and appreciate everything. You know, we talk about this every month. I mean, we can't do what we do unless you guys do what you do, and you guys do it fantastically, and we can't thank you enough. So appreciate that. A big shout out to Christian for joining us and bringing his expertise. He's been, pretty much a stellar piece to our whole space for a long, long time. So I'm glad we were able to have him join us, and we're happy that we had 50 plus people on here to be able to ask questions and learn a little bit what's going on in the marketplace. So big thank you. And Eric, big thank you to you too for putting this all together and doing what you do.
Yeah, it's my pleasure. Thanks for all that. We'll have the newsletter out first week of February. We do have a speaker lined up for February 13th, which is a Thursday. I don't know much about the speaker, but we'll put it in the newsletter. We'll put the bio and everything there. If anybody has any questions or needs anything, just reach out to me. Everybody should have my email. Everybody should have my cell phone. I think I have everybody on this call's cell phone in my phone, so just reach out to me. But if there's nothing else, we'll let you guys hit the road today.
Eric, let me throw out the speaker next. We have another Christian that's coming on. Christian is with Maymont Homes, who is one of our SFR groups that we work with they're actually out of the Carolinas. They just bought 2 different groups they're going to double in size in the next 90 days. So if you're able to make it, it's probably a good idea to make it. He's definitely on there. He's going to talk about acquisitions, but also going to talk about how they work. And it'd be probably a good spot for you guys to if you can join, please join.
Yeah, thanks for that, Darren. We'll definitely have more info in the newsletter once we get that. If anybody has a speaker they'd like to have come on the call, reach out to me and I can help set that up. I think these calls are valuable. This is probably our 25th call in a row, monthly call in a row. So we're keeping the momentum going. So other than that, we'll let you guys off for the day. If anybody needs anything from me, I'm working from home the rest of today. So just reach out. So have a good day, everyone. We'll see
Thanks,
you.
Thanks
guys.
for having me.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Yeah.
Tristan.
Yep, thank you.
Yeah,
Safe
thanks.
travels,
Guys, have a great
everyone.
day. Take care. See you guys soon. Looking forward to the golf.
Yeah, we'll see you out here soon.
Would be good.
We're going to lose a lot of golf balls at that golf tournament, Barry.
Yeah, I'm waiting for Costco to go on sale so I can lose those in the water in the woods.
They're, I
Here's
work
here,
with
right?
Raymond. They are really
Kirkland
good. to work
specials.
with.
Yep.
Oh yeah. Oh, good one. Yeah, absolutely. Okay,
All
buddy.
right,
Talk
guys.
soon.
We'll see you
all.
guys.
Yeah.
I'm gonna close off the group. See ya.